Welcome to my video. Subscribe now. The morning sun rose slowly over the naval base, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. The air was cool and crisp, carrying with it the smell of salt water and jet fuel. On the deck of the aircraft carrier, 3 pilots stood side by side, looking out at the endless ocean before them. Captain James Mitchell from the United States adjusted his flight helmet and took a deep breath. Next to him stood Squadron leader Thomas Harrington from the United Kingdom, his posture straight and confident. On his other side was Major Sofia Romano from Italy, her dark eyes scanning the horizon with quiet determination. They were 3 pilots from 3 different nations, brought together for one extraordinary mission. Today, they would demonstrate the remarkable capabilities of the F-35 fighter jet, launching from a ski jump ramp on the carrier deck. It was a maneuver that required perfect precision, absolute trust, and nerves of steel. James had been flying for 15 years, but he still felt butterflies in his stomach before every important flight. He glanced at his companions and wondered if they felt the same way. Thomas caught his eye and gave him a small nod, as if reading his thoughts. Sofia smiled gently, her calm presence somehow reassuring. "Beautiful morning for flying," Thomas said in his crisp British accent, breaking the comfortable silence between them. "Every morning is beautiful for flying," Sofia replied, her Italian accent giving her words a musical quality. "But yes, today is special." James nodded in agreement. "It's not every day we get to show the world what these machines can really do." The 3 pilots had spent weeks training together, learning each other's flying styles, building trust that would be essential in the air. At first, it had been difficult. They came from different countries, different military traditions, different ways of thinking about tactics and strategy. There had been disagreements, misunderstandings, moments of frustration. But slowly, something had changed. They began to understand that despite their differences, they shared something fundamental. They all loved flying. They all believed in protecting their countries and working together for peace. They all knew the weight of responsibility that came with sitting in the cockpit of one of the most advanced fighter jets ever created. Now, standing on the deck together, they felt like a team. More than that, they felt like friends. The briefing had been thorough. The ski jump ramp at the end of the carrier deck angled upward at 12 degrees, allowing the F-35 to launch into the air with a shorter runway than traditional catapult systems. It was an elegant solution to a complex problem, but it required the pilot to trust the aircraft completely during those crucial seconds of takeoff. Commander Richardson, the mission director, approached them with a tablet in his hand. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen thousands of flights over his long career. "Everything is ready," he said, his voice calm and steady. "Weather conditions are perfect. The deck crew is standing by. Are you 3 prepared?" "Yes, sir," they answered in unison. Richardson smiled. "I've been doing this job for 30 years, and I've never seen 3 pilots work together as smoothly as you 3. Whatever happens up there today, I want you to know that you've already accomplished something remarkable just by showing how well our nations can cooperate." His words touched something deep inside James. This mission was about more than just flying. It was about proving that people from different backgrounds could work together, trust each other, achieve something greater than any one person could alone. Thomas cleared his throat, and James could see emotion flickering across his usually stoic face. Sofia looked down at her gloves, but not before James noticed the shine of tears in her eyes. "Thank you, sir," James managed to say. "We won't let you down." But as they walked toward their aircraft, James felt a knot of worry forming in his chest. He hadn't told anyone, but during the last training flight, he'd noticed something. Just a tiny hesitation in his jet's response when he pulled back on the stick. It had only lasted a fraction of a second, and all the diagnostic checks afterward had come back clean. The engineers assured him everything was perfect. Still, doubt lingered in his mind like a shadow. Should he say something now? Should he delay the mission? But what if it was nothing? What if he was just being paranoid? The whole world was watching this demonstration. Military leaders, politicians, journalists from dozens of countries. Canceling now would be embarrassing, might even harm the relationship between the 3 nations. James pushed the worry down deep and focused on the present moment. He would trust his training, trust his aircraft, trust his fellow pilots. The 3 F-35 Saturday on the deck like sleeping predators, their sleek gray bodies gleaming in the morning light. Ground crews moved around them with practiced efficiency, making final checks, giving thumbs-up signals. Each jet represented billions of dollars of technology and decades of engineering innovation. They were fifth-generation fighters, capable of speeds over 1,200 miles per hour, equipped with sensors and weapons systems that seemed almost magical. James climbed the ladder and settled into his cockpit. The seat wrapped around him like a familiar embrace. His hands moved automatically through the pre-flight checklist, flipping switches, testing systems, bringing the powerful machine to life. The rumble of the engine was a deep, reassuring sound that he felt in his bones. Through his canopy, he could see Thomas and Sofia going through the same rituals in their own cockpits. They looked focused, professional, ready. The radio crackled to life. Raptor 1, this is Tower. You are cleared for takeoff. Wind is 5 knots from the east. Good luck up there. Roger that, Tower. Raptor 1 beginning takeoff sequence. James took one more deep breath, then pushed the throttle forward. The F-35 began to roll, slowly at first, then faster and faster. The ski jump ramp loomed ahead, a curved slope rising into the sky. The deck crew flashed past on either side. The ocean beyond the ship seemed to be rushing toward him. This was the moment where the jet would leave the deck and trust itself to the air. The moment where years of training and millions of dollars of technology would either work perfectly or fail catastrophically. The nose of the jet hit the ramp and began to angle upward. The forces pressed James back into his seat. The engine roared with tremendous power. The world tilted and the sky filled his vision. And then, suddenly, the hesitation he'd felt before came back. The jet seemed to pause, to hang in the air uncertainly. Time stretched out impossibly long. James could feel his heart hammering in his chest. His hands gripped the controls tighter. But then, just as quickly, the moment passed. The F-35 surged forward with breathtaking power, climbing smoothly into the morning sky. James let out a breath he hadn't known he was holding. Below him, the carrier deck was already small and growing smaller. Raptor 1 is airborne, he reported, his voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. Beautiful takeoff, came Thomas's voice. Raptor 2 beginning my run. James circled back around to watch his friend launch. Thomas's jet rolled down the deck with the same gathering speed, hit the ski jump, and soared into the air with elegant precision. Perfect. Then it was Sofia's turn. Her jet moved with grace and power, and when it left the deck, it seemed to leap joyfully into the sky like a bird freed from a cage. Raptor 3 airborne, Sofia reported, and James could hear the smile in her voice. The three jets formed up together, flying in tight formation over the ocean. The water below sparkled in the sunlight. Above them, the sky was an endless dome of blue. James felt something shift inside him, the worry and doubt melting away, replaced by pure exhilaration. This was why he flew. Not for the technology or the speed or even the mission. But for this feeling of freedom, of capability, of being part of something larger than himself. Tower, this is Raptor 1. All three aircraft are performing flawlessly. Beginning demonstration maneuvers. For the next 30 minutes, they flew together like dancers in a carefully choreographed performance. They demonstrated the F-35's incredible maneuverability, its ability to turn sharply, to climb rapidly, to hover in midair using its vertical landing capabilities. They flew in formation so tight that their wingtips were just meters apart, showing the level of trust and skill they had developed. Through it all, James was acutely aware of his companions flying beside him. He could see Thomas's jet in his peripheral vision, steady and reliable. He could hear Sofia's occasional comments over the radio, always calm, always precise. They moved together as if connected by invisible threads, responding to each other instinctively. As they prepared for the final maneuver, a simultaneous vertical climb and roll, James realized something profound. That moment of hesitation during takeoff hadn't been the jet failing. It had been him, his doubt, his fear, his worry about letting others down. The jet had been perfect all along. It was his own mind that had created the problem. And his fellow pilots, without even knowing about his internal struggle, had helped him overcome it simply by being there, by doing their jobs with excellence, by showing him what true professionalism and trust looked like. Ready for final maneuver, Thomas called out. Ready, Sofia confirmed. James smiled inside his helmet. Ready. On my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. The three jets pulled up together, climbing vertically toward the sun, then rolling in perfect synchronization. It was a move that required absolute precision from each pilot. One mistake, one moment of hesitation, and they could collide. But there was no hesitation. Only trust, skill, and the kind of unity that transcends nationality or language or background. As they leveled out and began their approach back to the carrier, James felt a profound sense of gratitude. Gratitude for his fellow pilots, for the magnificent machine he flew, for the opportunity to serve, for the beauty of the world spread out below him. Tower, this is Raptor Flight. Mission accomplished. Requesting permission to land. Permission granted, Raptor Flight. Outstanding work up there. Welcome home. One by one, they brought their jets down onto the deck, the ski jump ramp now serving as a reminder of how far they had come. The landing was smooth, controlled, perfect. When James climbed out of his cockpit, he saw Thomas and Sofia already standing on the deck, removing their helmets. The deck crew was cheering, applauding. Commander Richardson was approaching with a wide smile on his face. But James only had eyes for his fellow pilots. He walked over to them, and without saying a word, they embraced. 3 people from 3 nations, united by their shared experience, their mutual respect, their common humanity. We did it, Sofia said softly. We did indeed, Thomas agreed, his voice thick with emotion. James nodded, too moved to speak. In that moment, standing on the deck of the carrier with the morning sun warm on his face and the sound of the ocean in his ears, he understood something important. The real capability they had demonstrated today wasn't the ski jump takeoff or the advanced technology of the F-35 or even their impressive flying skills. It was the capability of human beings to work together, to trust each other, to achieve something beautiful and meaningful despite all the things that might divide them. That was the real miracle. That was the real hope for the future. And as they stood there together, arms around each other's shoulders, looking out at the horizon where the sky met the sea, James knew that this moment would stay with him forever. A reminder that we are all, in the end, flying together through life, and that the journey is better when we fly as one. The mission was complete, but the friendship, the understanding, the bond they had forged, that would last a lifetime.